Welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. We've reached episode 651. It's being recorded on November 4, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sprunberg.
You can find out when we do go live. I got an email earlier letting us know that we were podcasting on a Thursday.
It's a good reminder for you.
Yeah. I rely on this, actually. Go to pcper.com/subscribe, and then you can also support the site financially. That means money at patreon.com/pcper. Brett, do we have a TWAP this week on Patreon update this week?
We do have a couple of notable mentions. We want to thank the handle Unpour for throwing a few kronar in the kitty. Very much appreciated. And we have someone who has decided to up their patronage significantly. And I'm going to say it's. I would have to say it's a significant percentage of the whole. Okay.
Wow.
I'm not going to give any numbers.
So we have
away.
a benefactor.
Well,
like a patron.
He's a real patron. He's a real patron.
Per Arts.
Yeah. His first name is Gregory.
Sweet. All right.
And he's upped it to such a level.
Is his last name Gumble?
It's not.
No.
That Josh can step in and give him a personal thank you. So we've been leading up to this. I don't know what's going to happen here.
I don't know. But you know what? We are now balling with Gregory Wallen. We'd like to thank you personally from the bottom of our hearts and from my PayPal account to graciously give us some extra money. And Gregory, hi.
No. It was okay.
That's where the money ends up.
There's no stopping the cat butt. There's no stopping it.
Hey,
you can't
on
stop
the
the cat
subject
butt.
of...
Thank you, Gregory. Really, I hope that was enough. I hope that it brought a tear to your eye.
Far more than he ever imagined.
Truly.
Thanks, Gregory.
Speaking of sanitary things, Josh ate some food this week. He would like to talk about it.
I did. I don't even remember what the name of this was, but it was fantastic. It was named after a guy, but it came together really nicely. In fact, there was just so much meat there. I had to have a salad and not fries. As you can see in the background, you got the croutons, you got the tomatoes, you got the fresh greens, but in the foreground, you've got the usual, buttered and slightly browned sesame seed buns, which is nice. You got the 2 regular quarter-pound patties, so that's just a half pound of meat right there. Now, on top of that is smoked pulled pork, spread across generously. And underneath that pulled pork is fire-roasted chilies, Hatch green chilies. And then, if that wasn't enough, they poured queso on top and then shoved the top bun on. So you have pulled pork, green chili, queso, double burger with buttered buns. Yeah, I didn't eat for a while after that. It was another 24 to 28 hours before I had anything else because it was very filling. It was very good. It wasn't as spicy as perhaps, if you had jalapenos, obviously, but overall, you really... Each flavor complemented the other. It was all brought together with the queso. So, yeah, happily, excess is never enough.
We can't put it off any longer. We have to talk about Intel and their return to not just relevance, not just competitiveness. Dare we use the buzzword leadership? Is Alder Lake the return? Is this their core moment again? Or was it Core 2 that finally brought things back?
I thought it was Core 2 Duo.
Okay.
Yeah. Because before that, Core was Benias, and that was a great mobile chip for the time. But it was the Core 2 Duo launch that really cemented their place and kicked poor old AMD to the side.
Well, I am still waiting for our Intel CPU samples to arrive. They are in FedEx hell right now. But don't worry, Falcon Northwest saved the day. They didn't use FedEx, they used UPS, and they sent us this beautiful Talon system for our review, which I did an unboxing stream of the other day. So it was all set. It had DDR5 installed. It had a graphics card, just, a 3090, but it qualifies as a graphics card. And then I didn't have to worry about the cooler because it had its new revision of their 280 millimeter Asetek cooler with the larger block for the LGA 1700. And we don't have to go over the whole Intel 12th generation core thing again. We talked about this before. Intel did a staggered embargo on this where we could do unboxings and talk about architecture and stuff, but we couldn't talk about performance. So the embargo's up. You can talk about performance all you want if you were lucky enough to get your hands on Alder Lake. And I remember some of what I wrote earlier this morning and late last night. But have you guys looked over any of the reviews today? I looked at Gordon's review at PC World today. And I kind of skimmed
I looked
over
at yours.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I talked about some of the testing issues. And I was watching Wendell's video this morning, actually. I forgot about that. And he basically had this long disclaimer, this discussion at the beginning about the testing issues, because Windows 11 is a new operating system, and it's not really fully baked. And you've got a new architecture, a new operating system, a new memory standard, all this stuff happening at the same time. And then there's questions about, do you test Ryzen on Windows 11 if you're testing Windows Alder Lake on Windows 11? You want apples to apples, but then can you really have apples to apples if it's DDR4 versus DDR5 and so on and so on? And I don't have access to a board that supports Alder Lake and DDR4, so that's out the window. I did all of the new Ryzen testing that I performed with Windows 10, and then I used the legacy results that I had, like the benchmarking from like 2020 and 2021 so far, which is all Windows 10. The only Windows 11 stuff was Alder Lake. So, and honestly, I ran some Windows 10 tests first, and they were almost exactly the same. So I wasn't really seeing much of an advantage. But to give you a look at what our particular configuration was, here's a screenshot from HW Info 64. The Talon system that we got for our review has an Asus ROG Maximus Z690 Hero board. So they went all out with this one.
Is that like a $700 board?
It is, 600? Yeah, 6 or 7. Yeah. And then, of course, it had the 12900K processor and a 3090 and EVGA XC3 Ultra Gaming. The memory, right now, DDR5 is almost impossible to get, even if you are, system integrator. So 4800 is the one that we can actually get our hands on right now. I just want to show real quick the results that I got in a couple of benchmarks. Intel kind of got away from rendering benchmarks like Cinebench. It's not real world. Well, they weren't winning them anymore. Cinebench, and I know that a lot of people are using R23. I haven't shifted over to that yet. Good old R20, it's massive. Single core goes from, what was it with the 11th gen? 651 to 775. That's a single core score. That's the highest I've ever seen. In comparison, a 5950X running the preferred DDR4 3600 speed only manages 628. It's even winning in multi-threaded in most of these CPU benchmarks, which is the crazy thing. It has 24 threads. That's the same number of threads as a 5900X, which is a 12-core multi-threaded part. It's kind of crazy. Like every single thing. Well, I guess it's not that crazy once you look at the clocks that it's sustaining and the power that it's drawing. But the architecture itself is quite impressive, and it looks like completely revamping the core and giving it a lot more cache has really paid off. Integer performance is outstanding. Floating point performance is way up, where AMD had been eating their lunch in that category. If you look at like Geekbench results, now all of a sudden, integer and floating point, Intel has the lead. So, and that is reflected in almost any benchmark you can run. I mean, going back to even like the old X264 HD benchmark and 7-zip, it's still dominated by AMD. But Intel holding its own. I mean, it's in second place. But
maybe third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're looking at. Compression is a lot harder on the CPU than decompression is, and it's in second place with compression. Decompression.
My
AMD's absolute king of decompression.
My understanding now is we will no longer be able to make fun of them as the furnace of CPUs.
Well, okay.
Funny you mentioned that.
Do tell.
It's funny you mentioned that, and I'll skip past the gaming thing. I want to see real-world gaming benchmarks anyway. Power draw, I have a horrible chart here because I didn't have time to make a bunch of other charts. But it was sustaining 4,658 megahertz was the average throughout the test run. Under
Now,
load.
was that just the P cores? What's the max on E cores? They break that down?
Yeah, you can look at it, and I have the log, so I can look at it individually. I thought it was like 3.2.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
The package power did indeed top out at its rated 241, and it was sustaining something around 236 on average, though it was peaking up towards 240 and even 241. But that was throughout the entire test. And this particular motherboard, I had verified that, because with Asus you have this easy drop-down option that says enforce all limits, and in the past, this has enforced that PL1 and PL2 limit and the actual tau for Intel desktops, which is usually 56 seconds. After that, it drops down to its 125 watt TDP. And with this one, I have to double check, because if there was an all-core boost enhancement enabled by default, which every motherboard is going to have enabled, it's essentially going to ignore, I think, the PLU or PL1 and PL2 values, or else they're both set to 241. But this is BIOS 0604 for the Maximus Hero board. And even with Enforce All Limits set, it was still allowing it to draw 241 throughout an entire classroom render, which was well over 56 seconds. So, not sure. And even in that render... Go ahead.
Tell me, go ahead and finish yours, and then...
Okay, I was just going to say, even in that one render, as I write here... Package temp was hitting 97C. This is in a room that was only 21 to 22C. And that's with a 280 millimeter all-in-one running at 100% fans and pump. There were P cores within single digits of hitting their TJ max, like within 7 and even 5 degrees of hitting TJ max. There was no throttling. This is one run. And so at this point, you have to decide if you're looking for the absolute highest performing desktop CPU, it is actually the 12900K. And that's the consensus across the reviews that I looked at this morning. But you will use more power. Like an AMD processor never pulls more than, what, like 155 watts? So if that matters to you, save yourself 90 watts and use AMD, but you're not going to get the same performance. Alder Lake is incredibly impressive with what they were able to do.
Is the era of the 240 millimeter AIO over?
I think so.
Is it 280? It's 280 now. Oh, well, yeah.
How loud did that get?
Yeah.
I wasn't measuring the sound, but it was, I would say, just from experience, probably 50 decibels when I had everything at 100%. But
that's just crazy.
I'm just doing benchmarking. I always do that.
And Falcon shipped a cooler that had an appropriate cold plate on it with an elongated plate or...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't taken it off, but my understanding was that they have a new design for Mesa Tech that they're putting in all of these that has the longer cold plate. It was already like an oversized cold plate design. So there are companies out there that are saying, hey, we already were ready for this. They just will ship you out a new mounting bracket, and they think the cold plate's big enough. So we'll see. Because obviously Asetek's the basis for a lot of these designs that are out there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's what they're using. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Alder Lake.
Intel.
Jeremy.
12th gen.
What are some other reviews out there that you've perused today?
Assuming vMix will actually behave for me now. Because I've been having nothing but internet nightmares over here. It was KitGuru that... Good. Actually, that does seem to have helped. KitGuru got their hands on something that is going to make everyone else's life a nightmare.
Why?
Because there are not just a single type of motherboard for this. There are two different types of Z690. One which uses DDR4, one which uses DDR5, and you better hope you pick the right one.
Yes.
That's going to be more annoying than a GPU that doesn't have as much RAM as you thought it did. But so that's what they did, is they tested DDR5 5200 against 3 different ranges of DDR4. And, is it actually worth jumping on this brand new bandwagon? And as it turns out, unless you really like running memory bandwidth scores, not latency, but bandwidth, then yeah, it's awesome. But if you're just doing if you're looking at actual pure performance, there's almost no justification to jump up yet. Now, of course, that comes with a caveat. This is your first gen DDR5. The tech is going to change. It's going to become more mature. We hope the timings get a little bit tighter. But it was sort of interesting just to see that there's not such a huge difference right now in jumping the generation to RAM, unless you're looking for some of the features like onboard ECC and such like that. So that it was interesting that they actually managed to get the motherboards to be able to test that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see anyone else do that.
Impressive. They got some higher clocked DDR5. They got some Corsair 5200, it looks like.
Yeah, they got a whole slew of it from them, so I assume that's what
You should be getting
happened.
some of that soon, actually.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get some of that. Speaking of Corsair and DDR5, they put together a forum post that sort of ran down the differences between DDR4 and DDR5 and people's questions on that. So I thought it'd be a good thing to throw this in here from Corsair. Yeah. Corsair, why do we need DDR5? How does it compare to DDR4? Is it backwards compatible? How do I know if my motherboard uses one or the other?
For the novice user.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, the theoretical benefits of DDR5 are obviously very good.
Yeah.
Because of the potential for, obviously, more bandwidth. I think right now the latency thing is just...
But there was one thing I did read in here that I actually hadn't realized, is that there's 2 XMP profiles on DDR5. I actually didn't realize that yet.
And you can write XMP profiles, right?
Okay.
With 3.0, you can write back. Like, you can do your own tweaking and then write it back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I did not know the difference between XMP 2.0 and XMP
Let's make things
3.0.
really, really unstable.
Well... XMP.
Well, no, that's the AMD one.
You know what is cool about DDR5 is how it handles power on the actual board itself.
But by drawing a lot more of it.
Well, no, you've got the actual power circuitry.
CPU's taking it all
on the DIMMs.
So Josh, you're saying it's allowed.
Yeah.
It's allowed to draw more or less. It's allowed to kind of regulate itself to some degree.
No. Yeah. I think so. I don't know. I didn't attend Editor's Day. Who did?
Me. And Intel was talking about XMP 3.0, which is their invention, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is this? There's a lot of excitement, obviously, about Alder Lake with all the benchmarks and everybody talking about how fast it is. And there's this new memory standard. So all these companies are jumping on this bandwagon, and I get press releases every day now saying, like, we just hit 6600. Our memory just hit 7200. Well, as Video Cards is reporting, somebody got a little carried away, claiming that they had overclocked a 12900K to 8 gigahertz, and their DDR5 was at 8300 megatransfers per second. But
Hi, Cookie.
You're not going to tell me they were lying, were you?
That was high cookie.
Like completely just totally out lying?
Were they lying? But this is an editorial response by the maker of CPU Z. Okay. And come to find out, there was a bit of a problem in some of the microcode that allowed the CPU speed on Alder Lake to be reported inaccurately under certain conditions. And Intel went back into the microcode and added a new flag. I can't name the name of it. Oh, there it is, FLLOC mode, which helped to alleviate this, and they had to make some CPU-Z validator updates and things to it. But with the handshaking that they understand is going on between the motherboard and the microcode and the BIOS and the CPU itself, this really shouldn't be possible. But there's a window in sort of the video cards article, the write-up from the CPU-Z author sort of explains it, how you can still achieve seemingly misreported speeds due to manipulation of certain parameters inside the BIOS. If you're like somebody like maybe a famous overclocker, like maybe this guy, working closely with the BIOS manufacturer, there is a way to do this, to be able to have it potentially misreport speeds. And I suspect that's kind of what happened here. It's suspect.
I'm looking over this PC World article you linked to, and I see they were using a lot of the results from Gordon's review from the same publication, but gives us a look at here's like the gaming benchmark with a 3090.
Yeah, this is 12th gen versus Ryzen 5000. Yeah.
So you have
Look at those CS:GO numbers.
That's all that really matters. Wow. Far Cry, New Dawn Ultra Quality. They have normal quality, Gears Tactics at Ultra and Medium. So that's good. A nice mix of easier to drive and harder to drive titles. CS:GO, of course, is ridiculous because you're well over 500 frames per second with everything. But in general, Intel wins gaming. There's, I think, how many instances of it where they don't? Here we have Horizon Zero Dawn Original Quality, where a 5950X edges it out by 4 FPS. And then they're virtually tied in Rainbow Six Siege at ultra quality. But at that point, anytime you're going ultra, and you're getting probably GPU bound at that point, or at least somewhat GPU bound, and the results being within a frame of each other suggests maybe just like a normal variation. But yeah, anyway, the particular way that I decided to almost facetiously test gaming, because I don't like gaming benchmarks for CPU tests. I think CPUs should be, tested as CPUs, and GPUs should be tested for gaming and whatever else compute that they do. But unless you're software rendering, I would love to bring back the Doom benchmark to see how many real ticks everything has as it launches.
And to think
need a bigger graph for that.
8 years ago, AMD was so far ahead of the field in releasing a 201 watt TDP processor.
Mm-hmm. Was that the 9570?
Okay.
Was that what it was? There was one that shipped with an all-in-one.
It was a 5 gigahertz on like 2 cores, and then it went downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They kind of took
it had a double. What's that?
They took Intel's approach with the Pentium 4. Just throw more gigahertz at the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they finally decided to rewrite the architecture from the ground up.
Yeah. So
now it's a few more watts.
I kind of look at this entire. Are you done, Jeremy?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Okay.
Camera 2.
I kind of look at this entire launch, and it is impressive what Intel has done, but there definitely is a price in terms of power and heat. And that they were able to eke out, some significant, results from especially like Cinebench, and do it with 24 threads, and 8 of those threads are on the efficiency cores. They've done some interesting things, obviously, and performance is up there. Gaming performance is up there. They've gotten it together in terms of cache sizes. I mean, they're much larger than they were. They're approaching what AMD has with the 5000 series, and we've seen some massive jumps in overall performance. And it seems like in terms of manufacturing, they're a lot better at doing larger caches, which do not suck up huge amounts of energy. But to be able to get these, performance numbers, I mean, we're still talking, it's what the 5950 is 125 watt TDP officially, or is it 95? Or is it like 105?
This is 105, I think.
Yeah. And so even though at load, when you've tweaked things out, it's still, 150 watt draw. That's still 90 watts less than what Intel is doing. And so if you think you're throwing a third more power into it and significant amount of heat more, and you're still winning by 5 to 10% in the best case scenarios, that's still kind of a rough. I mean, you got to have better motherboards, you got to have better power delivery, you're going to have boards that are going to cost more, you've got to have cooling that is going to cost more. I mean, the Wraith Prism can handle the 5950 without any real problem. That's a $45 air cooler, and it does a fairly decent job. And I'm not trying to, piss all over things, because it's good that we have a lot more competition from Intel. It makes everybody a lot better. But boy, they you pay a price to get that performance, and it's right up there in black and white.
Total cost of ownership is higher. You're right, Josh. And you don't sound at all like you're being defensive about this at all. And, picking at the power draw. The same things that AMD fans used to ignore when they didn't have that advantage. Anyway, the total cost of ownership of Alder Lake is very high compared to AMD. You're absolutely right. Because you can get a decent a B550 board, grab one of those processors somewhere. They're usually on sale somewhere. And have yourself a great system with tried and true DDR4. But
yeah, I mean, I linked up what some of that DDR4 3600 memory, 32 gigs for like $129.
Yeah.
So
compare that to the calls out there
for everybody saying AMD's got to lower their prices now? What do you think about a lot of people saying AMD's got to lower their prices?
This is what I was going to ask you about.
I'm not so sure.
Because I think they do need to lower their price, because if you look at the charts, the benchmarks that are out there show a $649 Intel part beating their $700 16-core part. Yep. So they have to lower the price.
Yeah, they will.
Total cost of ownership. It's very expensive to get into that Intel.
There are cheaper boards than the Maximus Hero. There are boards that are like $279. I don't know how good the power delivery is, but
I think the lowest I saw was $199. That was the least inexpensive.
No, I didn't see a.
But it was like one board, and it was bare.
Let's just accept that LGA 1700 is the new HEDT. That they don't really do.
All right, that might be fair.
Trickle down in desktop anymore. That's what the 12900K is, and you always paid more for an X99 board or a 299 board. So that's one way.
And we've already seen an erosion in some of the AMD parts. I mean, the 5800X is getting down there in price. At least it's on sale pretty much all the time for $50 off to $80 off.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do a price check right now. Newegg.
Instant price check. Let's do.
I'm probably no longer in stock.
Let's all go to the
50X.
Let's all go to the kitchen. Let's all go to the kitchen.
They offer hassle-free returns, which is nice. According to this banner, I don't see one. When I search 5950X, I get a 5900X.
No, I'm talking like the 5800.
Oh, 5800?
Yeah.
I was hoping for a sale on the 5950.
Oh, no, they're not going to have a sale on that anytime soon.
They don't even have any.
Yeah.
Let's see. $393.
Yeah, so that's $50 off.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Let me check Micro Center where the real world shops.
Boy.
Oh, for the love
Is it whether there are 24 in the U.S. again? Fewer than one for every 2 states.
Be quiet. Your jealousy is showing.
I have one in Michigan. I'm not jealous. I just don't like to drive 2.5 hours.
All right. 5800X, $369.99.
Okay.
Yeah, that's almost $100 off.
50X
in stock.
Micro Center?
Micro Center. I'm sorry, 5800X.
Forget about that. Forget about the world's hottest processor. Let's talk about
what do you want?
Their 16-core part. 59. I'm just searching myself.
All right.
Not getting anywhere with this.
519.
In stock, $719.
Oh, 5950.
Yeah.
You went to that.
Let's see. The processor I keep talking about, Brett, the one that's on all the charts compared against the 12900K that we just tested.
I'm not listening.
Because Intel wants $649 for their part that can beat this part.
719 seems a little rich in comparison.
So let's see, 12900K. Let's see what Micro Center wants for that. $649.
Ooh.
Unavailable online.
Well, that just means that they're selling them like hotcakes.
Yeah.
All
but
10 of them.
You can't buy DDR5 anyway, so just wait. Just wait this out.
Whatever.
Wait for some more Windows 11 patches, because it's just a beta OS at this point.
Why not just get a DDR4 board? Why not just get a DDR4 board? Why not?
It's because it would feel like... I wonder if it just feels like a too much of a concession.
Oh, yeah.
Where people are just like, I want to know that I have the latest and greatest. Like certain people in our Discord community. Like, I would just want to be able to say
what if you overclock it and you find the 3600 memory on the 12900K? With good lowers latency and it improves overall performance. What would that do to you? I mean, your pure bandwidth numbers would suffer a little bit, but it seems like everything else would improve dramatically.
Depends on your workload, Josh, and testing.
I guess it also depends on Intel's mood when they're dealing with a DDR4 memory in their controller. What do you optimize for in that situation? Probably DDR5. And you leave DDR4 for compatibility.
We heard about memory latency a lot from Intel back when they were showing you how they were still the fastest for gaming. And
they're not going to mention that with DDR5.
No. So their own new CPU coupled with low latency DDR4, I'm sure, has advantages in things like perhaps the high frame rate, low resolution gaming test that I was doing, where the DDR5 equipped board running at the slowest, like the nominal 4,800 megatransfers per second with CAS 40, I think. CAS 38 or 40. It was not that great. And then on the AMD side, I was testing with 3600 CAS 14 G-Skill Trident memory, which is just super low latency and has that nice 1800F clock, and it was getting significantly more frames out of that 3090 in like a competitive gaming scenario, like Dota 2 at 1080 low, which looked horrible. And in fact, I was making myself kind of sick doing these tests, like Metro Exodus at 720p on a 1440 monitor without any kind of GPU integer scaling or anything. It just looked like crap, just smeared garbage. But the frame rates were just so high. All right, any more thoughts about Alder Lake before we move on?
Damn it, Scotty! I need full power.
I'm giving it all she's got, Captain.
Looks like Jeremy's got full kitties in his office.
I'm up against the PL2.
I'm up against the PL2.
The murder of a rat you witnessed in the back there.
Yeah, really?
Yeah,
on
thankfully
camera?
It wasn't a screamer.
Oh, no.
No, he just ran past me, and yeah, that was a rat in his mouth. Usually he saves us till 3 a.m, so hopefully he's not going for a twofer tonight.
It's got to be nice to have.
But once again, Vancouver is on the top 10 list of the planet for population density of rats, so he is just doing his best.
Well, congratulations then. Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all Habs fans, aren't they?
No, they'd be Canucks fans. Or maybe Kraken fans.
At this point, it sounds like having cats is a requirement to live there. With the rat.
It's not a bad idea.
No. All right. Moving on. Phase change memory. We haven't talked about this in a while. It gets a little more flexible. I detect a pun. This is a Jeremy story after all.
Well, no, it is actually fairly literal. That is a look at it right there. They figured out a way to lower the temperature doing it, to create it, which is a fairly huge thing because most of the time, one of the real bad things about phase change memory is that you're using some really nasty chemicals and they need extremely high temperatures in order to create it. So this drives the cost up, beyond what most people are willing to pay, and has horrible impacts on the environment. So this team out of Stanford have figured out a new way of doing it with antimony telluride and germanium telluride. The big deal is that they can actually lay down the substrate and everything at temperatures under 200 degrees Celsius. So not only is this good for the environment and for keeping costs down, it means that they can actually print it on flexible substrates. Because one of the huge things about phase change memory is that it only needs a tiny bit of current to zap through it to change the phase of the memory material from, what is sort of 0 to a 1. And it doesn't need energy to maintain that. This is, a huge benefit, because if you're throwing something out in the wild that doesn't need a lot of energy, and it's going to get worse, isn't it? It only needs a tiny amount of the energy that it used to. They're 0.1 milliamp per centimeter squared, which is, way down from what was about 10 milliamps for the most recent stuff that was most useful. this is kind of neat because not only can it be printed and used in IoT stuff, it actually is a lot easier to run and a lot cheaper to make. So it's going to be a while before we see PCM again. And, the writable CD-ROMs were technically sort of that, but worked horribly. But this might, see it getting a little bit closer to becoming a real technology.
Indeed. I was going to go to Josh's camera and ask him for his opinion when he was not there to be funny, but then I'm glad that you didn't. Back in.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with those plants?
I had to go get this.
Oh.
What do you got there?
Skull splitter.
Oh,
Scotch for the Scotch ale.
Yeah.
Oh, just a wee heavy. It's only a 6 and a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, 8? Oh, it's a heavy then.
8.5.
That's a nice heavy ale.
Yep.
It's a lot more than my 4% coffee Guinness mix.
I'm double the man that you are. In fact, more than double.
I mean, that's probably true.
Well, I probably weigh twice as much as you. So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a 5.8 tonight.
Oh, so that's pretty good.
Also the Scots Irish thing going on.
It's easy drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I did start out with a spiced porter, but I finished it and I don't have the can near me.
Moved on.
Russell Brewery.
All right, let's.
Essentially, their description is that you've got an insane guy in red climbing down your chimney. You've just murdered a tree, and the kids are screaming for presents. What would be better than a spiced porter?
Speaking of Team Red,
yes.
We have some rumors to mull over. This is a report. I'm not sure what the source is. This is at WCCF Tech talking about AMD Zen 4D. Up to 16 cores per chiplet.
Dense.
New cache design. Tackling Intel's hybrid approach. How are they going to be doing this? Josh, have you heard anything about their response to Alder Lake?
This is Josh's friend Moore's Law is Dead talking about this.
Oh, I see. Okay, so just quote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the original stuff, I can't remember where it was from, but he might have released that. I can't remember. But Zen 4D would be... I'm probably getting this wrong, but the dense cores are going to be in Zen 5. And so Zen 5 will be the big fat, but then they'll take the last generation 4D and put those in as the efficiency cores. So they'll be smaller, take up less space, more optimized, unless I'm totally wrong with how I had interpreted it. What do you think?
I think that's one of the versions. I think that there's 2 versions of it there, Josh. I think you're right about one of them, yeah.
The Mono is still expected to have SMT2.
They're going to reduce some of the
AVX
cache on there
512
to gain back some chip real estate in order to double the density of the cores. And they're going to remove things like some of the instructions. So they're going to remove certain instructions like 512.
Well, Intel dropped 512 with Alder Lake, so
exactly. So now it's fair game. Oh yeah, we can do that too. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they're going to come out with.
But they're looking to double the density of the chiplet core count in the same space.
But they know where the target is right now.
Because AVX 512 is pretty much useless for desktop users.
It's coming to Epic.
It's really good at generating a lot of heat really fast.
It is exceptionally good. For they're definitely, particularly good reason.
They're definitely having it, probably, according to rumor, is it come to Epic first because core density in the server space is paramount. Think about that. I mean, space, footprint space, rack space is key to dollar conversion for the world over. You've got your Microsofts, your Amazons, your Googles, big cloud companies, and there's many other ones. This converts directly into dollars for them. So Epic is a high value play. The more cores they can put per server is great for them. Pack them dense. Dollars 4D dense. Everybody wins. Profit.
What about 6D?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like 6 degrees of what is it? Like with VR, there's like the 6 degree. I don't remember. I was trying to come up with a transition, but I can't think right now. Meta.
No, you didn't separate well.
Yeah. Meta removing Facebook login requirement for Quest headsets by next year. And what's the catch? We wanted this.
You have to have a Meta account.
Yeah, they changed the name of it.
See,
No, they'll start selling Quest for Business is actually the drawback. Because, yeah, they suddenly realized that there were a lot of companies out there that just were going, I'm sorry, we have to what? To be able to use your fancy new program and your headset? Because, yeah, we're not getting all of our employees to sign up for personal Facebook accounts. That's not happening, nor are they coming into the business. So, yes, there will now be Facebook work accounts tied to it, which already exist. So it's not that it's completely gone. It's just that it's, changed its name in the hopes that you'll forgive it for what it did in the past. The nice thing is, though, that by doing this, they're going to sever the deadlines that they had in like 2023, where unless you had an actual Facebook account, you were no longer going to be able to use your library of games. They just simply would not work. And after that, essentially, the headset itself would essentially, you'd be able to turn it on. It wouldn't do anything, but that was it. So, I mean, it's a bit of good news, but at the same time, it's exactly what you'd expect from Facebook. But it does open it up for a few more people.
what I would expect from Facebook. Shit.
Yeah. Just a different flavor.
Retreating. They're in retreat right now, so this isn't really what I would expect.
Yeah.
So this is more like an admission of we're trying to run away from things that we did that were bad. I don't know.
No, we're just, putting them over there so you don't look at them so much anymore. We're still going to do them.
The name of it.
We're going to go back there occasionally. It's just that we're hoping you'll forget. And in the meantime, we're going to sue all those companies that already had the name Meta company across the planet.
Okay. Can we no longer call it like metadata? Can we even do that? I don't even know.
Give them a year.
Yeah. That's their proprietary information. Face tracking. All right. Lastly, this
But
evening,
they'll cure metastasis, so.
Jeremy, tell us about an intriguing looking game. Weird West. What is this, like Mutant Wild West?
Kind of. Well, no, more Cthulhu occult Wild West. Like that would be a werewolf as opposed to some sort of renamed mutant. It's interesting. It's at first look, it looked like Hard West, which was a Kickstarter that successfully put out a game and did some free DLC later on, which was, very occultish, very Western, had some interesting bullet deflection techniques where if you were lined up, you could bounce a bullet off of someone and hit someone in in turn-based. This is actually not done by the same company. This is done by the guys that did Dishonored and Prey. So you still get a lot of the talking and the, stylistic animation, but it's a little bit more real time. You're following the adventures of 2 or 3 characters, which you're going to go back to. Whereas with Hard West, once you finished that chapter, you were done, except for, some spoilerific callbacks. So it's interesting, and it sounds like you've got a fair amount of choices as to how you want to deal with everything. So if you want to, do the crazy mutation stuff, you may well be able to do that. It looks a little odd. It's going to be out in January, so only a few people have sort of taken a look at the pre-release. But it actually looks like it might be a little bit more RPG, a little bit more allowing you to create a character, but in, a game setting, which honestly I don't think has been done enough, which is, horror Wild West. They go together so well because you're out there in the middle of the unknown, only you and your 6-shooter by your side to count on. And yeah, what goes bump in the night is actually something you got to worry about and not just a bear.
This seems like the movie Cowboys and Aliens taken to its natural conclusion.
Yeah. Less aliens, more Eldritch forces, but yeah.
All right, maybe a little bit more supernatural horror kind of thrown in the mix, but that could have been in Cowboys and Aliens too.
30 Days of Dark or 30 Days of Darkness, that vampire movie that takes place up in the
30
North
Days
Pole.
of Night.
30 Days of Night. Yeah, thank you, Josh. It's more sort of like that because you're in a hospitable location with a whole bunch of enemies around that you don't really know which ones they are. And unless you're getting really good at shooting things in the right spots, you're going to be ending up food. But except it's hot and so
Fish are friends, not food.
Of course, I immediately thought about this game when I thought Wild West. It's got to be Outlaws.
That's a blast from the past.
That's further back. Or no, is that the one that AMD
1997.
sponsored? Yeah, it must have been.
Well, it was software rendered, but it had a 3D mode. I don't know if it was glide only or what.
I remember
have a big
AMD
box
bragging
version
about
of it
these
somewhere.
benchmarks an aeon or two ago. And then Desperados afterwards.
Somebody in the chat, Al, has said the big gaming news today was longer in-game footage video of Elden Ring. How did we miss this? And also,
apparently it's going to be a callback to the original Dark Souls.
Okay.
Because we don't have enough of those
give it
clones
the
out.
weight
Open
it
world,
deserved.
and it's like Breath of the Wild and Dark Souls mixed.
Okay, I missed
Had
it.
a child together.
My bad.
Yes, thank you,
Play it.
CR Paul. That's exactly right.
Okay. So there's video.
Bandai.
But is this the in-game footage they were talking about?
Or is this just an extended cutscene?
Is this just a trailer? What is this?
Hey,
Yes.
George R. R. Martin's involved, so you're going to die.
Oh.
You could never finish the game.
Oh, the tree.
You won't finish the
So,
game. You'll
yeah,
just start
anyway,
5 different
if you're
DLCs roughly tied to the main story and start
Pretty sure that
pushing
was-
those out.
If
sure
you're
that was
interested
the
in this
outcries.
and know how to use the internet, then you can watch that video. Let us move immediately to Picks of the Week.
Al Bundy says the in-game footage actually starts around the middle if you feel desperate to go back to that.
It's okay.
But-
It
or
looked
not.
Nice. It sounded nice. The sound design was good. Had that sort of
Okay.
eerie quality. It sounded kind of like the opening to Lord of the Rings. You know, like Fellowship of the Ring. With
Very eerie movie. Nazgul theme, maybe.
I got a little Shannara vibe from it watching the tree, but okay, whatever.
all right.
Oh,
Wow,
Yeah.
haven't thought of those books in a long time.
really forgotten they
were
did
the
a TV
Shannara
series.
That tree.
books
The tree.
made
It
into
was like
successful
Yeah.
movies.
There was a
They
TV
did
show.
like one
and
series. It died horrible death.
Didn't like. Actually, I liked it until season 2, and then it was like, what is this? What
They're
is
good as
this?
audiobooks. You know,
They're good. They're good as books. Flat out.
Well, I
decent
mean,
books.
who reads
Yes,
books anymore?
I guess I never watched the Shannara series.
I
I know
made
that
it
they
through
had
about-
the Wizard's First Rule.
I've never even
series.
seen that because it's going to be awful.
Yeah, it was not good. I mean, the Zed was played by the pilot in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, so that was a plus.
I mean, that I can see working.
Yeah.
My God, he needs
He's
to work. I
aged
haven't seen him since then.
Yeah. Anyway,
Picks of the week. Josh, get us started.
so $179 for a 2 terabyte, reasonably fast NVMe drive. It's PCIe 3.0. It uses the InnoGrit controller.
True
And
grit.
Sadly, InnoGrit, right? InnoGrit.
You know,
but
They
they're
really
anyway,
have something there.
$180 for 2 terabytes, and
Kind of buffer.
it's like 3,200 megabyte per second read and 2,800 megabyte per second write. So you can click on specs and see how it's spelled. InnoGrit.
Is this
controller.
a DRAM-less design?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay. Well, that's
I
nice.
mean, look at those IOPS. They're not real high, but they're still better than most other stuff.
Is it QLC?
SLC caching, but that's it.
SLC. Oh, I see SLC cache.
Lifestyle on it's
Yeah.
not bad. Yeah. But the life on it isn't bad.
No, I mean, but what do you expect for $180?
More.
Of course, it's just probably not going to be on sale forever. And yeah, Intergrid is
drive rates. Come on.
Of that spec sheet. InnoGrid.
It wasn't Phison once kind of like the entry level, and now we have InnoGrid. But Phison got there were some fast Phison drives too.
They got big and they got better. Mm-hmm. Fast.
They got first to market for a few things, so that really helps.
Yeah, and I mean AMD invested a tremendous amount of money in them, because they're willing to do the work, and they've grown from it. So they're, not quite at that whole Samsung level, but they're pretty darn close.
Whatever happened to?
Just watch out; they might start making their own DRAM soon.
Whatever happened to SandForce?
Or sorry, NAND, like storage.
I think a lot of
SandForce was. Wait, didn't Intel buy SandForce?
I know they were using it for their Intel official SSDs for a while, but I don't know if they.
I don't know. I think of the SandForce.
There was always some sort of decoder ring that could remind me.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I think a lot of the OWC stuff actually has SandForce controllers in it.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're getting
barefoot.
All right, who's next? Jeremy. Looks like you have a couple here.
Well, it's hey, this might actually be a CPU benchmark for you now. It's 5D chess with multiverse time travel, and just hit play because it's 5D chess with multiverse time travel.
Okay,
you start playing chess, but then you can sort of decide that you want to go back in time and make a different move, which spawns a new branch, which is separate from the current present, and teleport a piece back into the past, at which point it starts to branch off into new things, and then new things, and then you can move chess pieces from and this is a real game. You can buy it on Steam for less than $20, and it haunts my nightmares. It's called a psychological terror, and there is.
You know what? Essentially, you're describing how they've done AI in chess games for the past 45 years.
Exactly, but now you actually be able to play.
Just visualizing it, and now you can access that.
Yes, and you can cheat the same damn way that they did. Yeah, and I don't know how far out of a branch, but it's just amusing as hell.
It's chess with Git source code control on it. That's what it looked like to me. It's like those are Git branches.
Yes, they are. And there is an agreed upon, present or long term, which then some of the guys are like saying, yeah, psychological horror is a perfect tag for this. So they're like, I don't know, sometimes I can win it. Other times this pawn that moved about 3 dimensions back and 15, 20 moves ago suddenly appears out of nowhere and wins the game for the AI. It is bizarre. It is a hell of a thing. Yes, also true. That bug came back the very next day. We thought it was a goner.
All right.
So it looks utterly hilarious. But yeah, the second one might amuse you. So they've turned Queen's Gambit into a board game.
Which is funny because Queen's Gambit is about a board game.
Gambit is chess. Except, no, because they didn't want to do that. So if you scroll down just a little bit further, there you go. That's all that's been relaunched so far. So there's 4 of you, and you're sort of laying out tokens which are possible moves. And then you decide between which of the 3 branches, because she's supposed to be able to keep numerous games in her head.
Right.
You decide to go with. And I'm sorry that the Queen's Gambit board game has been invented and been around for a very long time.
Dude,
and if you want to get as good as her, you should. It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This game.
Crazy.
Have you seen the show on Netflix? Yeah, there's a game of that. Really? What's it called?
Mm-hmm.
It's called Netflix Presents the Queen's Gambit board game.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with chess except for the board, but
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from this week, but I saw them both, and they're haunting me. So if you want something really tough, try getting good at chess.
It's not easy.
And if that sucks, well, go for Go.
Oh, Lord. I still don't understand the rules of Go, and I've played it a few times. And it's just...
It's about the journey.
Okay. All right, Brett, your pick of the week.
This is a practical way to extend your Wi-Fi network compatible with all Wi-Fi routers, and it's on sale. $77 will get you a Wi-Fi mesh range extender from Netgear, the EX7500, to extend up to 2,300 square feet. It's a booster and repeater, so it'll pick up your same IP and same naming and things of that nature. So it's designed to communicate with your base station, as it were, and repeat that signal out to the furthest reaches of your property, yard, and beyond if you position it incorrectly. But for $77, don't invest in a full-on mesh network. Take your underperforming existing router and amplify. So it's a lot cheaper than perhaps in reinvesting in an entire new mesh network with multi-client or multi-children, that you scatter around. This is a good way of doing it.
And this kind of stuff makes a lot of sense if you are not, saturating your network capabilities with a single
absolutely
anyway. Because you're going to pay a penalty for doing this, right?
Yeah,
it has to split.
You will. You will, but this is a good way for the everyman to do away with his frustrations of I get sucky Wi-Fi signal in, some far corner of his house.
Mm-hmm.
Fix it. $77. It's on sale.
No wired backhaul, though. I know it's a big...
I believe it re-amplifies the existing Wi-Fi signal. That's how I believe it works.
So what you're saying is
it may not have an option for wired backhaul.
It's the wired or wireless router extender version of a splitter on your coax, where you would lose like 3.5 to 7 decibels every time you split it.
I suppose technically we might have to understand how many MIMO antennas the original base station has in order to answer that question.
Yeah, but is this using more than one to link up, or is it using a single stream? It must be multi-stream if it offers 2,200.
Yep.
Anyway. It's cheap. Should get one and test it. Except
for less than half the price.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to do more Wi-Fi testing?
No,
go for it, Sebastian.
I actually I asked Asus if they would send their current high-end mesh network. I was thinking I have the perfect house for this. I've got fiber internet, and I've got an aging router, and it's only in one room, and I have lath and plaster walls, and I have terrible Wi-Fi reception in my house. I should put up one of these high-powered mesh networks and see what the difference is. And then I got it, and before I could get to it, the tree fell on my house, and all of that stuff happened. So
oh man! But you could still do it.
It's in the corner of my living room, and I haven't hooked it up yet. Soon.
Yeah, I've had an Eero for 3 years, and it saved my marriage and my children's sanity.
Wow.
With the sacrifice of yours.
Praise.
Sad.
Now, does each Eero unit have wired backhaul? Or I don't think it does it?
Enough of the wired backhaul. If you have dedicated wireless backhaul, I was being sarcastic because of your wired backhaul thing.
I think it maxes out at 100 megabit, though, that back channel, which isn't
Google
great.
Wi-Fi. Google Wi-Fi.
But I mean, I've got 120 megabit broadband, so it's not like I'm throttling anything.
I thought you're in the middle of a prairie somewhere. I mean, where did you get 120 megabits?
It's a mountainside, but
cable, right?
I live in a town.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
The population density was high enough. It was like 12. Like, all right, we'll give these people.
Yeah, if it was 10, there's no way.
For Wyoming, it's
pretty populated.
Yeah.
I've driven through, and there are stretches of road where it's like house, and then you drive for 10 minutes, house. So I can see why they wouldn't bring fiber.
And that's considered a town, right?
I was out of the town. I was in the countryside.
No, but more of a hamlet.
Making fun of you, Josh.
I don't really have a pick this week, but I will pick. Get them while they're hot, boxed, still sealed. Intel desktop processors, your choice of, DX2, DX4. I have DX2, DX4, the PR100, the Pentium. I don't have an original non-MMX Pentium in the box, sadly. I thought I did, and I looked, and it was actually a Pentium Pro. And I have Pentium 2, which is pretty much impossible to find. You cannot buy another Pentium 2, still sealed in the world, as far as I know. Pentium 3, Pentium 4.
Man, you still hang around with us. That's cool.
Wow, you're like a celebrity.
I could probably retire to a cardboard box if I sold all of these.
But you'd own the NFT to that cardboard box too, so.
Yeah, you could do that. You know, it still doesn't mean you can buy another Mazda 3. You just can't.
No, you can't. I wanted one, and you just couldn't buy one.
You can't. You can't.
There were a couple of
could be
worse for more than new, but that was it.
At least you just collect processors and other old hardware. You don't actually collect cars in their original wrapping and store them.
No, the whole collectibles thing, this is about as far as I go. And I have...
So in your cardboard box that you live in, if you spread fecal material in a somewhat artistic pattern, does it raise or lower the price of the NFT?
Wouldn't that be a separate NFT within the box?
I think Jeremy's right, because that's performance art, so I think that would necessitate its own. I don't even fully
we didn't talk about EA.
We didn't.
Neither does EA, but they're still going to put them in their games.
You know what? He was so smooth on skipping it.
I was, and now you're dragging us down.
Oh, no, this is post-show. You can hang up on us anytime.
Because we haven't signed off.
No, we haven't said goodbye yet.
Hey,
we haven't said goodbye or anything yet. But we'll do it in the post-show.
Until next week, thank you for listening and watching, or both, repeatedly, constantly clicking the like button, hitting that bell.
Doing Patreon.
Yep, every day.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Which is part of your probation. Well, we thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta let my dog out. Hurry up.
All right.
Show is over. She's gonna urinate everywhere.
Show is over. So what's this NFT
Could be worse
thing?
Okay, now he's going to do this.
Yeah, so EA, I mean, if anyone was going to incorporate blockchain and NFTs into their gaming, who would it be?
Yeah, of course.
You get one guess and it doesn't even count.
I mean,
so yes,
how crappy could they be? I mean, come on. They're not doing this, really?
Yes, this is the future. The quote from their CEO is literally, "Play to earn games are the future of our industry." But it's still early to figure out how that's going to work. So he doesn't understand what an NFT is or what the blockchain is, but he knows that there's money in there. And so, yes, there will no longer be pay-to-win games. You will pay real cryptocurrency, which they may or may not invent themselves. It wouldn't put it past them to do that, and then watch it, pull a Squid Game. So that you can earn unique items within the games, which you will own the NFT for. And so I'm thinking like Borderlands and the Infinite Guns. So yeah, I've got an NFT for this gun that's exactly the same as yours, except this one's pink and yours is blue. How much cryptocurrency are you really actually going to be doing? Because it increases in value through some mystical method, which only the fungible people know. Or else you're just going to be tossing around pieces of paper saying that you own this thing, which is actually not even a real thing, but simply a skin in a digital world somewhere that will die in 5 years. So yeah, it's just, and they're going to tie this, of course, somehow into FIFA and NFL and all the other stuff that they own that they keep getting sued about screwing people over on loot boxes and the various game enhancing things that you can buy with real money. But if you're doing it with cryptocurrency, the vast majority of lawyers haven't caught up to this kind of crap. Governments certainly haven't. They're not even sure it's real money at this point. So they can all go back to the old gambling with the loot boxes and the skins and everything that they've been busted on for the last 8-9 years. Except for a little while, they'll be able to get away with it because it's blockchain NFTs and a cryptocurrency of some sort that they will figure out how to implement at some point.
Do you guys want to hear some actual, real breaking news?
Yes. Live from Laramie, Wyoming.
Intel bought Centaur from VIA.
When?
An hour ago.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Glenn and the gang are getting enfolded into Intel. Though Glenn hasn't been doing much with the company for a while, but he's still kind of, elder statesman of CPU design. So it'll be interesting to see what they actually do. But yeah, no more VA x86.